I'm gonna break it to you right now. This video is gonna be a fucking train wreck. This video is gonna suck. It's not gonna be very good. I recorded this a couple days ago, and it turned out like shit. And I don't have much faith that this time will be any better. So I decided to go with the lamp shading tactic. So let's get started in talking about Hoodwinked. Another movie that I watched as a child and wanted to revisit. This one was a lot better. It was a lot better than Kicking It Old School.
Cheese whiz.
For those that don't know, it's a dramatic retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, but done as a crime scene investigation movie, and it's done in sort of a Rashomon way, where you learn from each of the different characters' perspectives, and you learn how each of their stories interact with one another. That's the main gimmick of the movie, and it really is what carries the movie. Just seeing how all the stories interact in comedic ways, it's just very satisfying. And let's just get this out of the way, because I know it's the first thing you're gonna notice about this movie. The animation is fucking dog shit. It is atrocious. It is so ugly. There are moments where you can see, I don't know if they're called keyframes in animation, but I know they're called that in editing. It's like you can see the face in some characters moving from one pose to the next, and you can see that the computer is trying to guess how the face is going to transition between those two positions. It looks really bad. It took me half the movie to realize that this is a fucking raccoon. It's terrible. And on the one hand, I get it, because this was... What a lot of people don't know about this movie is that it was independently financed. There was no studio attached to this movie. The Weinstein Company only came on after the movie was finished and handled distribution. So that's why it was in a lot of theaters. But as for the movie itself, they did not provide any money to make the movie. Which kind of explains why the animation is garbage. But it's not really an excuse. And it's at this point where I'm like, okay, the songs in this movie are also not very good. There's one semi-exception. The singing goat sings a song called Be Prepared, not that Be Prepared. And that song's alright. It's fine. It's good. All the other songs are completely forgettable. I legitimately do not remember the tune, the melody, anything. I don't remember a single thing about any of the other songs. So we learn that there's a thief going around stealing people's baked goods. And obviously Little Red Riding Hood's grandma makes a living selling baked goods. So Red is worried about her goodies being stolen. Then we meet this bunny, who also isn't animated well. Then she runs into the talking goat, the singing goat, I should say, because you see the joke is he's been cursed to sing everything he says.
Everything?
That's right.
You just talked! Just now!
Oh, did I? 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 Did I do?
So then we get to the big bad wolf's side of the story, and we sort of get the, what's his fucking name? What's his fucking name? Twitchy. We get Twitchy, who is a chipmunk that is very hyper, and I get the feeling this is sort of the precursor to the Minions, where it's you have a cute mascot character. It also reminds me of the, I don't even remember what animal it was, but the character from Over the Hedge, who was also very hyper, which also came out at the same time. And then we get to the weakest part of the movie, the part with the granny, where it's revealed she's an extreme sports athlete. It's just very early 2000s humor. It's whoa, the grandma is extreme. And then afterwards we get this sad scene. Sad scene where a sad song plays. It's like trying to go for drama with Red and Granny. But the problem is that I think the movie's strength was in its plot and its jokes. And I don't think they should have even tried to go for an emotional moment. Or if you were, at least have it like be over quickly. But this scene just goes on forever. And it's at this point where the detective, who is a frog named Nicky Flippers, deduces that, of course, it was the rabbit.
You've been hoodwinked, baby!
His plan is to take everyone's recipes and make them more addictive. Just add in addictive chemicals to them so that people will buy his stuff more. You know, it's at this point all the libertarians in the audience are like, I don't see what he's doing wrong. You know, it's just, you know, the free market will determine whether or not he succeeds. Then a lot of convoluted stuff happens. There's a big action scene that's a bit contrived, but it's fun. It's silly fun. The rabbit goes to jail and everything's happy. And there's a sort of epilogue scene where the detective, Nicky Flippers, asks them to help him solve more mysteries, which doesn't really make sense. They didn't really do anything. I get Red and Granny because in the end fight scene they did help to stop the evil plan, but the woodsman and the big bad wolf didn't really do shit. And just before that scene we get a line that I actually really enjoy. It's the best line of the movie because, one, it's a joke, and two, it actually reinforces the movie's themes.
Let's just say that if a tree falls in the forest, you'll get 3 stories. Yours, mine, and the tree.
I think it's just a great line. I think it's neat. So the movie has a really strong script. That's really where the movie shines, is its script. You know, the animation's bad, but the voice acting is pretty good, especially Patrick Warburton, who always does a great job.
That's why Kenny told me to come down here and take a look.
Who?
Your boss, Kenny.
You mean Earl?
Well, that's what Earl said. He said, Kenny, come down here, and so here I am.
But the real strength is seeing how all these stories intertwine and the jokes, which are the best part of the movie. And when it comes to giving my final verdict on the movie, it's a little tough because visuals do matter. I mean, movies are a visual medium, right? Like, you want the visuals to at least be interesting and not fucking terrible and terrifying to look at. This fucking bird haunts my nightmares. And I think the visuals really do hold it back from being like a cult classic. I think people who watched it at the time like remember it as like, you remember that movie? Like sort of my generation, people who were kids when it came out, they saw it and they remember it and they like it. I think everyone else doesn't care about it. And I think the main thing getting in the way is the visuals. Like, if this was animated really well and had a professional team behind it, I think people would remember it more and talk about it more. So I mean, I recommend it. I think you should see it. But it's not like a strong recommendation. It's not like you have to see this movie. It's just like, if you can put up with the terrible visuals, then you should check it out. So that's the conclusion of the fun part of the review. Now we get on, this is basically a fucking funeral, because as soon as Hoodwinked became a success, it was a financial success. I mean, it's not saying much because the budget was so low, but it did make a profit, and naturally a sequel was greenlit and was eventually made. 6 years later, after nobody gave a fuck, except me and Christian, because I remember me and Christian actually saw Hoodwinked 2 in theaters. I was gonna watch Hoodwinked 2, just for old time's sake. And then I started watching Hoodwinked 2, and I was like, fuck this. And I bailed. I bailed out, and I was like, Not watching that. It was about a month ago, and I legitimately do not remember anything from what I saw. Didn't remember anything from seeing it initially in 2011. Like, even though I saw it in theaters, I didn't remember anything about it, except for one thing, which I'll get to. And so I watched like the first 5 minutes a month ago, and I don't remember anything that happened in those 5 minutes. That's how forgettable this movie is. You know, it is not memorable at all. Nothing interesting happens. The only thing I remember one thing about it. There's a line in the original Hoodwinked where they do a title drop. They say the name of the movie, and there are 2 villains in Hoodwinked 2, and when it's revealed,
We're not even kidnapped. We're the kidnappers.
Yeah, you've been hoodwinked. Too.
I thought that was kind of a funny joke, and I still think it is kind of a funny joke. It feels like they thought of that joke and were like, we should make a sequel so we can have that joke in the movie, and then they didn't think of any other jokes. Literally the only thing I remember about it is that joke. I was like skimming through the movie after I decided to bail on it. I want to see that joke again. So I went skimming through the movie looking for that specific joke. I couldn't find it for the longest time. Every like snippet of a scene that I caught a glimpse of, I had no memory of. Eventually I found the joke, and I realized it happens like 30 minutes into the movie. The twist of Hoodwinked 2 happens like 30 minutes into the movie. So like, what the fuck is this movie? Like, why would you have the twist in the first 30 minutes? So yeah, the less said about Hoodwinked 2, the better. Thank you for watching. This is the official end of the video now. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment and shit if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.